Hello, 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 and welcome to Stroke Talks with Mamas and Coffee. I am Sybil Jones. I am the lady behind Stroke Talks, of course, the lady behind Mamas and Coffee, and I am so excited today to have my very first guest, my very first interviewee here at Stroke Talks. And this is a very special individual for me because Mr. Fred. And he's going to introduce himself when he comes on stage, but he is joining us from down yonder in Australia. So when we were talking about the time zone difference, right, I'm like, all right, I'm trying to accommodate you. He was like, it's fine. It's whatever time. He's like, 5 a.m. works for me. I'm like, 5 a.m.? Dude, I'm asleep. But as you're watching this, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Help me get the word out about Stroke Talks because I want to share as many people's stories as possible. And also, let me say this about Fred. I'm going to bring him on because I want to see his face when I say this about him. So, Fred, I remember meeting you on a Zoom call for stroke survivors after I had my stroke. And I was nervous. I was afraid to speak. I was afraid. I didn't know what to expect. And y'all, Fred eased my nerves as soon as he spoke. And we were talking, I don't know what the question was, but Fred was just like, yeah. No, it was the first word. It was like, what was your first word after your stroke?
Fuck.
And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I have met my person. So, Fred, I have to tell you, it's been what? We met in 2021, so almost 5 years.
Yeah.
For 5 years now, Fred and I have communicated online. Like when I post on Instagram, he comments. He has been a support that I didn't know I needed. So thank you, Fred, for being my first Roki friend. I remember we talked about, it was a group of us talking about starting a band. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was like, there was something about, oh yeah, we could have a traveling band. I was like, I'll play the tambourine.
Don't remember that, but yeah, you're probably right.
But anywho, Fred, go ahead, introduce yourself to all the viewers. And again, viewers, be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment. We want to know. If you have questions, ask Fred. Ask me. Ask Fred. All right, go ahead, Fred. Introduce yourself.
I'm Fred Reeder. I was 58 when I had my stroke. I'm probably about 5 foot from where I had it. Where I'm sitting now is probably about 8 foot away where I had my stroke. So it was summer morning, so it was the 8th of January. January in Australia is summer.
Okay, yeah, because you were like summer. I'm like summer, January and summer, but that's right.
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we're down under. And I woke up. My wife was still working at those stages of the game. Died. She left, and about 7:30. I took my car to get serviced. I was in between jobs at the time, so I wasn't really doing a great deal. I was probably waiting for the summer vacations to stop. The 8th of January, pretty much they're just starting to go back to work. So usually I found that it was far better to look for a job in February. So I woke up. So I went home, opened the front door, and that's about the last that I remember of the whole day until I woke up in a hospital bed with my wife, my son Dan, my daughter Siobhan, and her now husband Declan. And I was wondering what the hell's happened and where the hell am I?
So you woke up that morning and felt perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I drove the car probably, I think it's about 7K. away, and then I walked back the 7K. So I probably walked a little bit longer because I walked down to the Parramatta River and then along the river home. There's pathways which they built probably sometime started in the 80s from memory and became a real thing, well, definitely by 2020. So I walked along the pathway, which I knew well, so that was nice. So it was a nice walk until I got home and got no remembrance of anything.
So, Fred, did they find the reason for your stroke? Were they able to determine the cause?
The best they can work out, and I've got to try to explain, 5 years before I had the stroke, I had a heart attack when in the December of 2014. So I had a heart attack, and it was a pretty severe heart attack. The right side of my heart, the bottom end of my heart's actually damaged to no repair. I had a quadruple bypass in January 2015, and then in the May they put a defibrillator in it. So it means that you can't actually see. They couldn't give me an MRI to really work out what had happened. They did a couple of CTs, and the best they can work out is my heart's had a malfunction and didn't come up on the defibrillator. Put a blood clot which ended up in the heart. It ended up in the brain. So there it is.
So, if you don't mind me asking, or if you don't mind sharing, because I do have a bit of your history here, do you mind rewinding back to your younger years to share a little bit about that? Because I want to let our viewers get to know you, but also see the full picture and the full journey of your health.
Okay. We could probably get back to when I was 14 and started smoking.
We were talking about that before we started live, y'all. We were talking about that.
Yeah. I started smoking at 14. I think I got caught about 17 times. My old man turned around and said, I'm not going to put up with this crap for the rest of my life until you're old enough to work out what to do with yourself. So he turned around and said, you may as well start smoking, but you can only smoke 5 cigarettes a day. I went, oh, okay, terrific. Okay.
You said 4 cigarettes a day?
5.
5.
Yeah.
And how many? So you went through a pack of cigarettes how many cigarettes are in a pack?
20. 10? So every 4-5 days.
Fred. Okay, look, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say a word. I'm not gonna say a word. So let's go back. Your stroke happened at your house.
Yes.
How did your son?
Yeah, son Ben was at home. He was, I think, on holidays or something. He came down about 11, somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock in the morning to have breakfast. He wandered over and said, hello, Dad. I went, and he went, this don't sound good. Picked up my phone because he left his phone upstairs, rang my wife and said, Dad sound real good. So I turned around and said, ring an ambulance. Just ring an ambulance. So then rang the ambulance. They came. I think they worked out pretty quickly I had a stroke. As we were talking earlier, they cut my t-shirt off, which was brand new. So I was really, really annoyed about that when I found that out.
You're like, no, not my new t-shirt.
Yeah, so basically that was it. But we didn't, like these things happen in life. So you kind of get over that pretty quick.
Yes.
I've still got one of them upstairs, I think.
But so you had a new t-shirt. Did you have any holes in your socks?
I have no idea.
I'm sorry. Okay, folks, that's a joke because Fred and I, we do follow each other on social media, and he told me he found laughter in my video where I was talking last week about holes in socks and underwear, but little stroke humor there, little stroke humor. How long did you stay in the hospital?
Well, before I actually got to the hospital where I was in, they took me to Westmead Hospital, which is just the other side of Parramatta. And my wife was working at North Shore, which is in another suburb, in a suburb called St Leonard's. So Di finished work, rang the girls, and drove to Westmead. By the time they worked out I had a stroke at the hospital, they decided that they needed to do an operation and remove the blood clot from my brain. And the doctor who did it had just left Westmead and went to Royal North Shore.
Oh.
So they just decided on the spot to pick me up, put me back in the ambulance, and drive from Westmead to St Leonard's into Royal North Shore. And Di basically arrived at there's a hotel motel type of thing where you can park for about $3 a day. And so Di was just about to drive in there to pick up to park a car, and then rang and said, "We're taking him to Royal North Shore." Di was not impressed.
She had just arrived at the first hospital and then immediately had to turn
back and drive back to where she came from. He was not impressed.
Now, had y'all talked about how she was feeling during all of that?
Well, I think she realised after my heart attack that anything was possible.
She's like, I married Fred. Anything is possible with him.
Basically, yeah. And but by that stage of the game, we've been married over 30 years. So, she probably should be used to it. Because our eldest actually been 32 years or something like that. 33, 32, 32. Yeah, 32. As close as 30. That's how I remember things.
No, I feel you.
Yeah, so then they got to Royal North Shore. They got me all ready for the operation, then gave Ben a piece of paper he had to sign to so they could do the operation. Ben's going, I'm not real sure. About 2 minutes later, Di walked in and signed it, just picked everything up, signed it, and told her to get moving, basically. So then I woke up, and as I said, I had I've got no idea where I am.
Yeah, you have no memory of that. And did they administer the TPA prior to doing the operation, or did they just immediately know we have no time to even try to administer the TPA drug to break the clot up? They just knew.
They decided originally, from about the moment I was in there, and they realised that they've only got about 6 hours to do that operation, that they just had to punch through, basically. So, but as they said, because they got me early, because they didn't think I had the stroke much before Ben came down. So they had a little bit of time, but not a lot, and they just didn't want to muck around. So they didn't bother trying any of those drugs.
No, because that's very important for our viewers who, who have not had a stroke. You have a window of time that medical staff need to take action.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 6 and 8, I believe.
Yes.
And the funniest thing is, Siobhan turned around and said, "Oh, luckily, one of her good friends was working as a nurse in that area where they do the stuff on the stroke, but she wasn't on that day."
She was not on that day.
No. So that was good. Probably was probably a little bit upset, so she didn't come. I saw her the following day, but Siobhan was at St George Hospital at the time, so she and her now husband Declan was at Sydney's Children's Hospital in Randwick. He actually left there and went and picked Siobhan up, so she didn't have to drive. True story. So yeah, so it was a very interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, because you can only imagine what the thoughts are with your family members during an emergency, any type of emergency, but especially a stroke with your son, him being the one finding you and then making all the phone calls, having to contact your wife, contacting his sisters, and then everyone's.
I think I contacted the sisters because Ben was probably not up for that.
No.
And they probably would have had a fight, so he probably thought it was better for Mum to do it than him.
I mean, I understand that. I understand that. Now, while you were in the hospital, when you got to your final hospital and they removed the blood clot, do you, other than your first word that you said?
Well, I don't know if it was the first word, but like they came along and asked me to give them, they were trying to work out whether I had aphasia. So normally when they test for that, they asked you to give 10 words starting with F. So they turned around and said, "What's the first word that starts with F that comes to you?" My first word was fuck.
Hey.
So yeah. And then I said, "Can I say that another 9 times if we can pull this over?" They went, "No," and I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh Christ, what starts with F?" And I couldn't say my name because they weren't going to take that. So yeah, I was kind of struggling for a while.
Yeah, and then did they have you like read a sentence or anything? Were they trying to get you to formulate a full thought?
I don't think they were that worried about it at that stage of the game because they realised that I had aphasia. Just by the way, the time it took for me to find the words other than the first one. Yeah, they worked out pretty quickly that I had aphasia.
That you had aphasia.
And I think once they worked that out, it tried to make me talk more wasn't going to help because I had a headache like a 3-day drinking binge type of headache, and I had no booze.
Now, so did they treat you for a headache after the fact while you were in the hospital, or was it we're just gonna wait for it to go away on its own? Like,
Well, other than some Panadol and relief like that, that's about all they gave. There was not much point in doing much other than that. Yeah, basically, I wandered around the hospital when I could. Basically, I just, laid in a bed going, can I get out of this place? That was the second day, I think, the tenant said, can I go home now? Oh, this is boring.
Right. And and that is something that I think is important for people to know, because you're there in the hospital, they don't let you up. I know for me anyway, they wouldn't allow me to get up. I couldn't do anything without a nurse. How was that for you? Like, did they allow you to go to the bathroom like after a few days in the hospital? Were you allowed?
Look, the morning after and I got up, I didn't think about worrying about whether I should or shouldn't have done it. I got up, went to the loo, and I thought to myself, I'm going to wander around, see what happens. And it was probably about 3 or 4 in the morning. So the staff's not really, there were just only a few of them on. And one of them turned around and said, anything you can do? Anything like we can do for you? So, couldn't find me a bourbon, could you? Or something smart like that. They went, I don't think you should be drinking bourbon. I said, yeah, I know that, but I just sort of asked. You asked what I wanted.
Right. You're like,
so they turned around and said, well, it looks like you can walk. So basically they realised I could walk normally, and I didn't look, I had no real the hands and the legs didn't have any deficits on them other than lots of strength. So I looked pretty much normal until I tried to open my mouth and say anything. And it was kind of like, let
me ask you this question, because I get this said a lot to me. Like, when I tell people that I've had a stroke, they're like, but you don't look like you've had a stroke. When you tell people today that you've had a stroke, what is the normal response?
They look at me and think, you're shitting me, aren't you? You are shitting me.
Yes, because people, like, I will say, before I had my stroke and before I met you and met other stroke survivors, I had this ideal of what a stroke survivor looked like. Someone who was very old, someone who had a droop, one side of their face was drooped. They had a very slurred speech. Maybe they carried their arm a certain way. They had their gait of their walk was really, I don't know, like, I call it the stroke walk.
Yeah.
That may not be the right name to call it, but that's what I call it. But I'm like, no, because a stroke is a brain attack. Yes, you do have those other deficits that happen, but I have seen or heard more and more people that when I say, oh yeah, I've had a stroke, they kind of dismiss me. But that's also why I created Stroke Talks, because I wanted people to see, hey, every stroke survivor does not look the same, and our journeys are different.
Oh, very much. And that's the big thing. It is how I had my stroke. What happened to me after it is different from everybody else that I've ever met. Most people have had an MRI to check everything out. They've had a lot more CTs than I got. The simple reason I just didn't want to keep stuff around me. I haven't seen a stroke doctor since April of it, because there's no point. I've got 2 cardiologists who.
Oh, you haven't seen a stroke doctor since April of
2020. Yep. Because there's no real need unless something goes wrong. Because I've got 2 cardiologists who I see twice a year, every year.
Oh, you go twice a year to a cardiologist?
I've got 2 cardiologists. I've got one for the defibrillator and one who does the rest of the body, which is normal in Australia anyway.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. That's something new. I'm gonna write this down just for my.
Yeah. And I see them regularly. And also now I've got a doctor, because I've got my defibrillator. We'll do this anyway. I got the defibrillator battery changed May last year. I ended up.
May I ask, how do they change the battery?
Battery in the defibrillator. Like basically cut open the scar.
Hold on, look, let me change this so we can see. Oh, no.
Oh, hold on. No, I can't do it. But I've got a defibrillator, which is basically.
Look, I'm like, we want to see the scar, Fred. We want to see the scar. Sorry.
I'll send you a copy of it.
I'm sorry. Sorry, people. Sorry.
No, basically I reopen it, pull it back up, open it up, change the battery, and then push it back in and stitch it up. 20-minute job.
You said 20 minutes.
20 minutes, half hour, something like that. I'm on the table for that long.
Wait. They cut you open, change, they go in, change the battery. Like, what kind of battery is it?
I don't really know. I've never been that worried about it. But
Fred,
there's a battery in it.
Look, I need you to find that out, and you're gonna come back because I want to know.
Yeah, I'll check with him the next time I talk to him. So yeah, then I woke up and I ended up in a bed in a hospital, and I wasn't feeling real good, and so they kept me in an extra day, and the following day I was meant to be going to a funeral. My best mate's mum passed away, and she was getting buried on the day, 2 days after I had my operation to get my battery changed. And I was still in the hospital because they worked out that I got a lung infection and ended up with pneumonia.
Wait a minute. So you had 2 heart attacks, a stroke. Then while you were having your battery changed from your defibrillator, you ended up with pneumonia.
Yep.
Fred, I'm gonna need you to sit down somewhere. That's what I need you to do.
I am sitting down.
But how long did you end up staying in the hospital?
Okay. It was like Friday afternoon. Guy and Siobhan came in to see me, and they wanted to know why I was still in the hospital, what the hell was going on. Siobhan is very pregnant at that stage of the game. She would be 7 months, I guess.
Oh yeah, she was very pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah, 6, 7 months, something like that. The child was born in July. I've got to work out. We've got 2 grandkids who are very close, and yeah. So I'm trying. Yeah. So Siobhan, and then I started to turn blue, and I thought this isn't real good. So they got this whole team of doctors and nurses come in, and Di and Siobhan got pushed out of the way, and this security bloke walked up and said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" I won't say what Di actually told them. It wasn't polite anyway.
Which wasn't polite. She's like, that's my husband, and I'm a nurse. That's all you need to know.
Oh yeah, well, Di worked in the hospital. She wasn't a nurse, but she did know most of the real smart doctors anyway, which was always good. Especially when you're married to somebody who had problems like cigarettes, like whiskey.
Like what? Cigarettes since you were 15 years old? Or 14. Actually, no.
14, 15, yeah.
14, 15, yeah. Now, let's go back to when you were in the hospital in aphasia. Did they start speech therapy right away with you, or did they have you wait? And did you have physical therapy and occupational therapy as well?
I had a little bit of occupational therapy. Basically, when I was in Royal North Shore, they were only just making sure that I was still alive. They started checking my aphasia by having people come and talk to me and see what type of response they got. Then I did some stuff with the CTs, and they couldn't find anything other than the fact I lost a bit of strength in my right side. Much more than that. So basically, I spent a week in Ryde Hospital, in Royal Shore Hospital. Then the plan was to move me to Ryde Rehab Hospital, which once upon a time I would have been as worried as hell. My dad, before he passed away, was in Ryde Rehab. And it was an old, decrepit building. Dad passed away in 2012, and not long after that, they actually closed it and rebuilt it. So I went to this new rebuilt hospital.
Okay.
The stroke and area is 26 beds, 26 or 27 rooms, and like they're a room with a bed, a TV, a table, and toilet board. And all of them are like that. So like there's no shared rooms. So it's probably a very expensive trip for somebody to take. Thank God for healthcare in Australia.
How is the healthcare in Australia?
Probably very good. Yeah, my wife's had 2 major operations for cancer, which has cost us very little. Okay, nothing.
So what I'm hearing is that I need to move to Australia and get citizenship in Australia.
Probably.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the healthcare is all paid by the government. Yeah, it happened in the 70s then in the 80s, the government, in the late 70s, the government changed and tried to bugger it up, and then they got voted out and it came back, and it's actually stuck since about the 80s.
No, and I didn't know that, but I like that. I have been just, I guess over the last few years, I have been researching different countries' health insurance, because I do wonder what other countries' health insurance looks like around.
Yeah, Australia's is good except for dental, but that's another story. But
Well, I mean, you got to keep your teeth.
Yeah, I know that.
But if look, you know, we getting sidetracked. Aphasia. So you're in the hospital. They started occupational therapy with you. They started speech therapy with you. Yeah. And how long did you continue your teaching?
I left the hospital. I left Royal North Shore after a week in Royal North Shore. And then I went to a rehab hospital at Ryde, and then they really started to work on the aphasia and the physical work to see how I was going. And for 2 weeks, I spent trying to remember what a synonym and antonym is, having English lessons basically, and I hated English as a kid at school. All I wanted to do was play patience and smoke cigarettes, basically.
But you know what, though? It's funny because I do remember I had to go to speech, and I just remember the questions, and like they would ask me, you know, what's the synonym for this? What's the antonym for that? And I'm like, I knew, but I just could not find the words to say it. And then I don't know about you, but did you start second guessing second guessing your intelligence? I know you said English, you hated English, but did you start second guessing yourself because you're like, dang, I know what I'm trying to say right now.
I think I just thought to myself, I know they're trying to get me to work out what they're saying, and yes, I know it, but I just can't find the word. And that's the thing about the aphasia. It's that you know what you're trying to say, but you can't find the words that you're trying to say. Okay. It's kind of like living with a dictionary floating through your head, because like you're trying to find the word, and it really frustrated me when I first had it, because I couldn't think of I couldn't put 7 words together type of thing. The conversation was hi, yeah, and there's these great.
Okay, all right, viewers. Yes, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because this is so relatable. If you are a stroke survivor, even if you have talked to someone who's had a stroke, right? Everything Fred is saying right now is truth.
Yeah.
When you're talking to people, especially your loved ones, right? You find them just staring at you like this. And you're like, come on, people, I'm trying. I am trying.
Yeah. And I think this is the part that most people don't realize, because they may see us in a setting where we're switched on, probably know that we have to be switched on because it's a social gathering or something like that. And for the hour or the hour and a half we were there, there were pretty good. And then as soon as we finish that, we go, the brain turns off and goes back into slow-mo, and everything's kind of, and it frustrates the shit out of my wife. It frustrates the shit out of her because that's what she has to live with day in and day out.
Yes. And I did read this in your submission, and I can peep this from you myself. Like, I could tell that you are very social. But do you find that you're social? Because, people are like, oh, yeah, I get tired easily too. But it's like, no, when you are someone who, before you were very social and you could hang out and have fun for hours, to now where you're like, okay, I can give you an hour, hour and a half max. And then you're out for like the next 2, 3, 4 days. Do you?
Yeah, I'm not that bad these days because I've got used to it. I've had to. But yeah, that especially at the beginning. Like, I remember the Sunday after the stroke, we had friends who were known for years, and they've come, and they've arrived, and guy turned around and said, "Look, I've got to go and do something. You three talk," and I'm thinking, that's not really what I need at this stage of the game.
Right.
Yeah. And they turned around and said, "So how is it?" "How's what?"
Right.
Yeah. And it was one of those really broken conversations, and John made the comment, "Mate, it's like talking to you when you were pissed." Yeah, because it's that he turned around and said, "I'm not trying to be a smart ass." He turned around and said, "No, you are a smart ass. I know that." Right. But the thing is, because my brain was so affected, and I still had pretty bad headaches, that whole talking to people that you knew was like a whole new experience. And it's almost a whole new experience of pain.
Yes.
And trying to explain that to somebody who never had a stroke, you may as well be talking garbage. Yeah, it's trying to explain that you're trying to find 6 words to make a sentence. And you kind of got the first 3, and then the last 2, and there's that one in the middle you can't find.
Yes. And it just and that word is just spinning. It's like when the computer is rebooting, you're like, it's coming. I promise you, it's coming. It's there.
Yeah. And and like these days, I'm really, I can go out and have a good time and come home, but like the next 2 hours after I come home, I'm totally stuck.
Yeah, it's like, no. Now, you also mentioned about mental health. I am looking at my notes. I'm only looking at these notes because I'm like, these are some things that I do want to talk about. And one aspect of it that you may bring up is with your speech and the isolation. And I want to bring that part up. I'm being a little selfish here because this is something I have been trying to explain to my family and friends. So, yes, Fred, I want you to share your journey with mental health and the isolation to help our viewers, but also to help me explain this to my family and friends. Yes, hubby, I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah, it's almost hard to explain because I think it was just a frustration to me of not being able to express what I was trying to say. And I became very, very frustrated. So I didn't really want to try for a while, the way of putting it. And that took a long time to become better. Like, a lot of speech pathology work, and it takes time. And also, I think it takes time for your brain to start to recover, so you can actually start to work out the ways to make it sound reasonable. And that's I don't think it affected me a lot mentally, although it probably does. And as Guy says, I've never been that worried about mental health, probably because I've never worried about anything. And I think for a long time, a mate of mine always said, "Are you all right?" I said, "I'm fine." He said to me, "Come on, cut the crap." And I went, "Yeah, well, other than the fact I can't tell people to go and get fucked as easily as I could beforehand." That kind of was the bit that I couldn't talk to people the way I wanted to. So the frustration becomes far more internal than external.
Yes.
And trying to explain that to anyone is like trying to teach a kid to go to the loo type of thing. Sometimes it's just one of those things that basically got to learn yourself. And I think that's the part, trying to explain to people that we've got to actually learn how to do it ourselves before we can explain to you
Yes.
how to do it. And it's this kind of catch-22 situation.
Yes. And I think too, because people, family and friends, they see you get yourself together, you go out, you talk, but they don't recognize the internal struggle. And as you said, it's more of an internal struggle than it is a visible external struggle.
Yeah, that's right. It is all the internal bits that you can't explain, but everybody who's had a stroke can understand.
Yes.
So it's kind of like you can say that you have problems telling people what you're thinking, and people will go, "Why?" Yeah, they can't work out why that's so hard. But it is when you've had a stroke and your brain has been affected.
Yes.
And if we can work out a way of getting people to understand that, especially for the people like us who aren't badly affected, I think that would be a very good thing to happen, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Right. Because there have been times that I have said that I have thought to myself, like, I wish I had a physical sign of a stroke so people could understand better.
Yeah.
I will say I don't think that so much now, but in the first 3 years, I used to think, well, maybe if I just had, the gait wall, had that gait, the stroke gait, or if I had a slur, because I hear a slur when I speak. I know people don't hear it, but I hear it. I'm like, well, maybe if I had one of those things going on, people would understand me better and leave me alone when I'm trying to explain what's going on.
Yes, yeah. I think that's part of it. How's your balance?
My balance is, it's good. Funny enough, I can't feel my left foot though.
Yeah.
But I like to wear heels. So when the doctor took my heels away, when I started physical therapy, I was like, all right. They were like, what's your goal? I was like, to get back in my heels. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah, I just want to get in my heels. Now my balance isn't what it was pre-stroke, but if you saw me out, you wouldn't think twice about anything.
Yeah, but And that's basically how mine is, except when I tried to put my underpants on in the morning.
Well, maybe you should sit down and put them on.
Yeah, I've never thought of that.
I will say the most frustrating thing for me is my rhythm. Like I have to really concentrate to find a beat. I used to love to dance. I danced all the time. I wasn't like the best dancer, but I could stay on beat. But after my stroke, I could not find a beat. I'm like, okay, come on, there's the beat, Sybil. Catch the beat, catch the beat. So now I'm like, dear, we look good on it because my husband doesn't dance. So I'm like, we look good on the dance floor.
Yeah.
We're on the same offbeat together.
Yeah. And I think they're the type of things, the balance, because my balance isn't as good as it was, but it's not too bad. And I still do a lot. I go to Pilates once a week. I walk. I still do a lot of the exercises that you start off when you've had your stroke. That the balancing ones. I do them just because it's a good way to keep my mind up. Why the reason I still walk, I still need to do these type of things.
Right.
So to make sure that I don't go backwards.
And I think that's important for any of our stroke survivors who are watching this video right now, whether it's the live or the replay, to know that your physical therapy exercises, it is something you will continue or you should continue.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's the big thing. People forget about it. I still see a speech therapist, pathologist, whatever you like to call it, once every 3 weeks because the cost becomes an issue in Australia because unless you get NDIS and you've got to be a lot worse and a stroke and end up a lot worse than what I am, and I'm not going to get it. I'll never get it as far as I can work out. So I realise I need to keep doing it because I'm worried about reversing back.
Yes.
And I don't really want to do that. So you work out when you need. So it's been a case of working out the best time to do it. I take a break over this time of year just because the lady who runs it needs a break. And the pathologists who do it, they need a break. And they usually, and summer's a good time for them to take some time off.
But you can still do your physical therapy and your speech at home on your
own. That's right. Yeah, I do. So and I do crosswords and numbered ones and anything that just keeps the brain moving.
You have to keep that brain going. Keep it moving. Yeah. Keep it moving. And that is something that with Stroke Talks, because I'm going to wrap this up. But Fred, I'm going to have you come back because I do have some questions that I want to get into the nitty gritty with you, but we're going to do another, you'll come back and do another with me. But I do want to say this before we go. At Stroke Talks, I will be doing these interviews, but also private Zoom rooms where stroke survivors, family, friends, caregivers, whomever can come. Like, you'll sign up. It won't be streamed live, but it will be a time that we can talk to one another. We can ask one another questions, because here's the other reality. You do need to talk to a fellow stroke warrior that understands what you're going through, they can answer your questions better than your friend who has never experienced a stroke. Or even sometimes, I will say not for medical purposes, but for just day-to-day conversations. I know I've asked my doctors questions and they get very medical. And I'm like, I'm not asking this question as a for medical purposes. I'm just asking because I need to know if I'm the only person, right? Like there's sometimes I'm like, am I the only one dealing with this? Like what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. I found in Australia there's a few stroke ones. There's one in New South Wales, which is actually the head office is just up the road from where my rehab hospital was. It's actually was once in the same building, but it's in a little building next to it. And they run. They have one every Friday. I think at about 11 o'clock, which is always just one of those times where I usually are getting ready to go and do something. So it's not a particularly good time to do it. But and it's in Maitland, which is like 2.5 hours north of Sydney. So it's like a Zoom session, so you can log into it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, you're not driving 2.5 hours, are you?
I've got to do it soon. I've got to go and see. Well, got to go and see somebody up that way.
And so you know what, Fred? When I have you back, I want to talk about driving after stroke. We can have a whole conversation about that. So I'm going to get you scheduled to come back on, and I want to talk about driving post-stroke.
Yeah,
you down for that?
Yeah.
You down to have a conversation about that? Okay.
Yeah. And the other one is they've got other groups. There's one over near the hospital where I went to when I had my heart attack. It's a group of stroke survivors, and it meets once a month in a little what was an old bowling club from memory, and you get together and you can talk to somebody who's had a stroke, which is really good. I go there occasionally, and they also have a group that is Sydney based. So, and it's people who've had a stroke who are still of a working age. And some of them are working and some of them are part-time work, some of them full-time work, some of them have retired or can't work. And it gets up to about 10 to 20 people. And it's very interesting to sit there listening to everybody talk about different things in the stroke and how they're going with their stroke, with the recovery. So it's a very interesting time.
No, I think it's important. And when even with working, so we're going to do driving and working post-stroke, because I do think just having that interview, but as you were talking about with the group in Sydney, I see a lot of people in Facebook groups. They have these questions, and I'm like, instead of typing them in a Facebook group, like your text, let's sit across the screen or in person and have a conversation, because there's a difference when I read your response in a Facebook group versus hearing your tone, hearing the inflection of your voice. And also, we can build on those questions, right? Like, oh, so you went back to work 2 months, 3 months after your stroke. Oh, let's unpack that. How do you feel after an 8-hour day? How do you feel after a 2-hour day? And just helping one another navigate that. Because I did go back to work like 7 months after my stroke. I worked for just a couple of weeks afterwards, and then I did resign from that.
Yeah, because I basically had the stroke, and Javon and Di turned around and said, "Well, you've got plenty of money. Why bother working?"
Hey, I agree with them. I agree with them.
Yeah, so it's been good.
Yeah, but Stroke Talks, Fred is going to come back. We're going to have a full conversation about driving post-stroke. We're going to talk about working post-stroke too. Fred just told us he did not go back to work. But we're going to still talk about it. We're going to unpack it. And then along with everything else, because we have a lot to say. And as I told y'all, Fred is my first friend that I made after my stroke. He gave me permission to just be, to feel my emotions, to laugh at myself, to say shit, damn motherfucker. Like I said all those things, right? Like I remember I had like one of my first lives that I did, I was talking and I did cuss a little bit, but
I remember when your mum was on it.
Do what?
Oh, remember when your mum was on
it? Yes. Yes. When my mom was there, I was like, ooh, but you know what? I'm like, hey, you're just releasing all those emotions. That for me, because I had buried a lot of my emotions. The fear, the sadness, the anger. And I'm like, all right, shoot, just release it. And also the humor.
Yes.
Right. I laugh at myself because I'm like, all right, I know Fred will be like, that's all right, Sybil, go ahead. Say it.
Yeah, and I think the fact is you've got to be able to laugh at yourself, otherwise you'd end up, depressed and probably suicidal. And there's been plenty of those, and there's a lot of people I know that I've met through different areas who have had these type of problems. The psychologists are probably making a fortune from them.
Yes. Because a lot of times, you just hold your emotions in because, again, as a stroke survivor myself, my family is very supportive, but they don't always understand what I'm going through. Sometimes I just need to talk to someone else who can relate to what I am dealing with. But anywho, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Fred, for joining me. And Fred will be back. Fred, are you going to go back to bed? Because it's like, what, 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. for you now. What you going to do?
Oh, I'll probably have some breakfast shortly.
What you having for breakfast?
I have no idea. Probably the same as I had yesterday.
And what was that?
Rolled oats.
A bowl of what?
Rolled oats. Trying to work it out.
Oh, so like oatmeal, like rolled oats. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Oatmeal's probably, the American idea of it. We have a lot of English sayings, a lot of English ways in Australia.
Yes. Yeah, I've been to Australia. I've been to Brisbane.
Brisbane?
Wait, how'd you say it?
Brisbane.
Yes, I've been there. I did a lot of shopping.
There's only 4 bloody places to shop in Brisbane.
Well, I mean,
I bet it's been a while since I've been to Brisbane. Oh, actually, yeah, it's been a while.
I was there 2012. I think 2012, 2013.
Yeah. Actually, one of our godsons live in Brisbane. You must go up and see him sometime.
Yeah, I just know I went shopping. I may have gone to the same 4 stores, but I felt like I was shopping like $100. I bought a lot of, I did buy some boots. I have boots.
Did you get a pair of R&M Williams?
No.
They're Australian boots.
They're called what?
Williams. They're an Australian boot maker. Been around for a long time.
No.
Mainly work style boots, cowboy boots.
Oh no, I got some Uggs. I do know I got some Uggs, and I got some other boots and some heels. It was in my era of heels. I wore heels with everything. I had a pair of snow boots that were 6-inch heels.
Did you drive in there?
I used to, yes. Yes. Not now. Not now. That was back in the day. But anywho, folks, but go ahead, get off here so Fred can go eat his breakfast, and I'm going to run to the grocery store because I told my youngest that I would buy the ingredients for her to cook dinner today for a class. She has to cook she's taking a home ec class, and so she has to cook dinner. I'm like, you need to go grocery shopping too.
I'll send her.
Yeah, well, she's at school, and I'm like, she doesn't have her license yet. I'm like, I'll do it, have it here. But thank you for joining me, Fred. Everyone, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. And Fred will be back, and we will continue this stroke talks. All righty. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.